She met me at the door like nothing in this world could go wrong. Hair up, sweater hanging loose, eyes bright. She grabbed my coat before I could drop my toolbox, kissed me like she'd been waiting hours, and waved me toward the table she'd set. Roasted chicken, salad, the good plates. She laughed at my jokes about the late shift. She asked about the plant. She pressed a cold soda into my hand and nudged me into a chair. Sit. Eat. You look wiped, she said, tapping my shoulder with the back of her fingers like I was a kid who needed a nap. I watched her cut the chicken, move around the kitchen quick and light, and I remember thinking, I picked right. I work the hours, I carry the load, but I picked the right woman to build with. I ate. She fussed. We talked about little things. The neighbor's new fence, the dog that kept wandering into our yard. When I reached for my wallet to check a receipt, she took it out of my hand, slid it onto the counter, smiled. Tonight is not for numbers, she said, and leaned down to kiss me again. I went to bed full and stupidly content. If I'd known where that kind of softness leads, I would have asked harder questions right then. The next afternoon, my neighbor Mike called. We're not close, but he's the type who knows everyone's trash day and who left their garage open. He works from home and pays attention. Hey man, he started. Heads up. There've been a couple break-ins across Oak Street. Daylight hours. Guys slip in, fast, grab what they can. I was already on the freeway back to the plant. You serious? Yeah. Cops cruised earlier. Might want to tighten up. I'll handle it. I hung up, called a security company from the parking lot, and booked a full install. Doors, windows, sensors, the works, 3-day job. When I told my wife, she glanced at the calendar, frowned. 3 days? While you're on nights. It's going to be loud, she said. Then go to your parents for a long weekend. Make it easy, I answered. I'll coordinate the crew. She looked relieved fast. That might be good. Mom's been asking to see me. Do it, I said. I want this done. I didn't think twice. That was my first mistake. I should have paid more attention to how quickly she said yes. The crew showed up Monday. I'd slept 4 hours after a double, but I walked them through the panels and codes, signed the forms. On impulse, and because Mike's tip had me wired, I added exterior cameras around the house, front and back, facing the driveway and the yard. I never mentioned that part to my wife. I didn't plan anything. I just wanted one more layer I didn't have to think about. When she packed a small bag to head to her parents', she blew me a kiss over her shoulder. I'll call you tonight, she said. She didn't. Not that night or the next. She texted a couple of pictures, coffee with her mom, a shot of their dog on the couch, and that was it. I sent, sleep well, and she left me on read. I told myself she was letting me rest while the installers ripped drywall and stomped in and out. I also told myself it was fine that she didn't ask about the extra truck in the driveway. The system wrapped up early Thursday. She came home Friday morning. The house looked like we'd had a mild windstorm inside. Drywall dust, little paper tags on sensors. She set her bag down and pecked my cheek. How'd it go? Done, I said. We're locked up tight. She nodded, then walked the downstairs like a realtor. Something in her changed. It was small, a way her eyes slid over the front windows. She felt distant. She was there, making coffee, acting normal, but it was like she was standing on one foot somewhere else. I let it go for the afternoon. At dinner, I put it on the table. I can pull a few days, I told her. Next week. We haven't had a break in a while. We go somewhere, even 2 nights. Drive upstate. Hike, eat, sleep. Your pick. She ran a thumb under the rim of her glass. You're slammed, though. I'm always slammed, I said. That's not an answer. It's just last minute. I'm not sure I can. She looked at the oven clock, like it owed her a schedule. Maybe later. You love trips, I reminded her. You used to say yes before I finished the sentence. She tried to make it light. Maybe I've changed. Okay, I said, and took that for the red flag it was. I didn't push. I logged the data. When you live on overtime, you learn to separate want from need. I wanted her to want me. I needed to know what I was actually looking at. I went back to nights, logged 12 hours, came home to a clean house and a woman who kissed me like a commercial and then rolled over in bed halfway through a sentence. She wasn't cold exactly. She was careful, polite. That's worse than cold. Cold is honest. Sunday afternoon, I finally opened the camera app. I'd installed the hardware and not touched it. That's how much I trusted the situation. I brewed coffee, sat at my desk, and scrubbed through Saturday in time-lapse. Me leaving in the morning, the contractor's last pickup still in the driveway, Mike mowing his lawn. Noon came and went. I leaned back, bored, and then a black sedan rolled to the curb. Not from our block. Not anyone's friend. Windows tinted. The driver sat for 10 seconds, then eased into my driveway like he'd been there 100 times. He stepped out in cuffed slacks and a pressed shirt, looked around the way people look when they know they shouldn't need to look. He walked to my front door and used his finger to knock twice like he owned quiet. The door opened. He went inside. He stayed until just before I got home. I watched the timeline spin, watched him leave an hour before my truck turned the corner. He adjusted his cuffs as he walked to the car. He did not look at the camera because he didn't know it existed. My wife opened the door to wave him off. The video grabbed her profile for a second. This wasn't a delivery. This wasn't a cousin. I paused the feed. I sat very still. Then I went to the kitchen where she was slicing apples and talking about a new podcast. Anyone come by yesterday? I asked. She blinked once. No. What? Neighbor said he thought he saw a car. I said. Maybe delivery. Her mouth opened and closed before the words lined up. No, I was here. Alone. All day. I let the lie hang. Okay. That was it for me. I don't do screaming matches. Screaming is for people without leverage. I made tea, texted a guy I know, an ex-cop named Garrett who runs a small investigations shop, and booked him. The ask was simple. Observe my house while I work. Log everything. If a stranger shows up again, follow him, find a name, get me enough facts to act like an adult, not a paranoid fool. Garrett asked one question. You want me to confront or just collect? Collect, I answered. No cowboy moves. He grunted. Give me a week. I did more than that. I moved the shared spending account into a separate bucket with a weekly allowance attached. I cut off the auto transfers I'd set up back when love made me generous. I texted her the new rule. House gets paid. Groceries get covered. Anything extra goes through me until I balance these overtime hours. She wrote back a quick, bubbly heart emoji. Then, of course, babe. You work too hard. That was the first softening. Too perfectly timed. After days of distance, she turned playful. The next morning, there was a note in my lunch bag. Thank you for everything you do. She sent me 2 pictures during my shift. Her on the couch, feet under a blanket, my hoodie hanging on her shoulders. At 10 p.m., she called for the first time in days. I'm sorry I've been weird, she said. I think being at my parents' made me feel off. Noted, I told her. We're fine. We are, she echoed, and asked me when I'd be home. I didn't buy the warm tone, but I let it ride. My move had been financial. Her counter was emotional. That told me enough. Midweek, she proposed a dinner date. Fancy. Thursday. She even suggested I sleep in Friday. Said she'd cover breakfast. Second softening. It read like an apology letter with a candle on it. Let's do it, I replied. We can take the truck. She hesitated. I was thinking we Uber. Truck is fine. I added, I want to swing by the hardware store after. I wanted her to know I was steering. She laughed like it was cute. Okay, Mr. Practical. I didn't get to Thursday. Wednesday night. Garrett texted a single line and an address. I stepped into the stairwell at the plant and called him. Give it to me, I said. Your visitor's name is Dylan. Married. Runs a contracting company, the kind that dresses like finance, he said. He spent Monday lunch with your wife at a place on River Road, corner table. That was the appetizer. Yesterday, he pulled into your driveway for 4 hours. I have photos. I tailed him to his place. He lives off Birch. Here's his wife's number. He read it out slow. You want the full file in your email? Yes. You still want me quiet? For one more day? I said. Send me what you have. Then stand down. When the images hit my phone, there wasn't a question left in the world. My front steps. My door. The same press shirt. A table for 2. Her smile. The one she used on me when she wanted me to forget I was tired, sitting across from him. The kill shot wasn't the picture. It was the timeline. Same day I asked her to take a trip with me, she'd been locking calendars with someone else. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I went to the credit union on my way home and moved our savings into a separate account I'd set up years ago and never touched. I left enough to pay the household bills and took away everything that would finance someone else's lifestyle. I locked down the cards with my name on them. Canceled one she didn't know I'd paid off, and changed the online passwords. Calm. Clean. No theater. I emailed Dylan's wife the camera clips and the restaurant photo. Nothing dramatic. No drawings in red. Just the facts and a short message. You don't know me. I'm not here to blow up your life for fun. You should see this. I'm available to talk. Then I went back to work and put in 4 hours before the end of my shift because I still needed to be the man who pays what he owes. When I walked in that evening, my wife was at the kitchen island. Pale. Hands flat on the counter. Babe, she started, voice tight. How long have we had cameras outside? I took off my jacket and hung it. 2 weeks. Her eyes darted to the sliding door. The math was visible. She was running numbers. I set my keys down. I didn't lecture. I didn't ask why. I just let her panic fill the room. All good, I asked, and headed down the hall. I'm grabbing a shower. In the bathroom, I turned the water on and stood to the side. The house was quiet for a beat. Then the soft click of my office door. That door has a squeak on the bottom hinge that I've never fixed because it tells me when someone goes in there. I dried my hands and walked down the hall without hurrying. She was hunched over my keyboard, trying combinations like a safecracker who thought I was dumb. Relax, I said, leaning in the doorway. It's not in there. She spun. What's not in there? Anything that helps you. I checked my watch. I already sent everything to his wife. Her face twisted in a way I hadn't seen before. Not pain, not shame. Annoyance. You did what? Photos. Video. All of it. You had no right. She threw back. You don't know who he is. I know enough, I said. I know his name. I know his address. I know he uses my house like a motel and leaves before my truck hits the corner. She took one loud breath. He's connected. He could make things difficult for you. Why would you escalate? So his marriage matters more than ours? I asked. She didn't flinch. I'm saying you're making this complicated. You work. You pay the bills. That's your lane. Don't drag other people into our business. Not our business, I said. You opened a second set of books. I'm moving on, she snapped. I was already almost out the door. You don't get to control that. I pointed to the hall. Good. Then pack. The papers are filed. Your access is limited. Go see if your new life comes with a spare room. She tried one more tactic. You're really going to throw away years because you felt ignored for a week? I looked at her. No, I'm throwing away years because you threw them first. Her tone went sharp. You will regret this. Maybe, I said, but I'll regret staying more. She stormed past me, upstairs, pulled suitcases like the house was on fire. I stood at the bottom of the stairs and listened to drawers. Then the front door slammed. For the first time in a long stretch of heavy nights, the air in that house felt steady. I took the shower I'd promised myself. Then I went to meet my friends at Parker's, a quiet bar near the plant where the chairs wobble and the beer is cold enough to make sense. Mark and Jay were already there. We've been friends since high school. Jay talks with his hands. Mark squints when he doesn't like what he hears. What's with the face? Jay asked as soon as I sat down. I told them the short version. No drama, just the timeline and the steps. They stared like I'd told them the sky was a different color. She always seemed perfect, Mark said finally. That was the point, I replied. She seemed it. Jay whistled. What now? I'm done, I said. I put the money where it can't be used against me. I sent the facts to the person who needs them. I'm going to sleep and then do something for me tomorrow. Jay shook his head. You good? I took a sip and felt the floor under me. I'm more than good. My phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. I answered. Is this Nathan? A woman's voice asked. Calm. A little tired. It is. I'm Lena. I'm Dylan's wife. She paused like she hated the introduction. You sent me something. I did. Can we meet tomorrow? Daylight. Public place, she added, like I was the one she should be careful with. Sure, I said. No games. Just coffee. We met at noon at a bakery on Elm, 2 tables from the window. She was composed in the way people get when they keep moving through chaos. No speech, no tears. She said thank you first. I knew, she said. Or I thought I knew. I didn't want to be right. Same, I answered. I don't think he'll cause you trouble, she continued. He's proud. He'll pretend this never happened. He'll also move fast to cover his tracks. I already moved, I told her. I'm not available for anyone else's cleanup. She nodded. Understood. We spent 20 minutes on logistics, not feelings. She asked if I wanted her to forward anything else she found. I told her no. She slid her number to me anyway. If you need anything, she said, and then added, almost a smile, legal or just a person to say, you're not crazy. I'm not, I said. I can tell. She stood. Take care of yourself. I plan to, I replied. And I meant it. Back at the house, my phone lit up in a pattern, messages from my wife. First came the threats. You'll ruin yourself. You'll regret this. You'll sit alone. Then the pivot. We can work on this. It was a mistake. Let's talk. Then the last resort. Please, I'm sorry. I made a mess. I'll fix it. I didn't answer. I don't punish people with silence. I just don't participate in their reruns. That night, I slept with the window open and woke up without a knot in my gut. I went to the plant early and asked to switch one overnight for a day shift. Not because I needed to prove anything, because I wanted to be where I could look people in the eye without feeling like my house was lying behind me. Coming out to the parking lot, I found Jay leaning against my truck. You look lighter, he said. I am. He jabbed a thumb toward the road. You still on for Saturday fishing? I'm on for everything I said no to this past year. I told him. I like this guy, he said, and clapped me on the shoulder. Saturday morning, halfway through organizing my garage, my doorbell rang. She was on the porch, eyes red, hair pulled back like she'd run the whole way. Please, she started, hands open. Don't do this. I made a stupid choice. We can fix it. I'll let the screen door stay between us. We are fixing it. I filed. You're free. I'm begging you, she said. Can we talk? We just did, I answered. She surged forward like my silence was her cue. He's not who I thought. He told me to keep quiet, to let it blow over. He hasn't called me in 2 days. I feel like a fool. You played a game and lost to someone better at it, I said. Don't drag me into your learning curve. You're cruel. No, I said. I'm clear. She shifted tactics. Can we at least meet once? Dinner. Closure. I cracked a smile. You needed closure before you brought someone into my house. Her chin trembled. You're really going to throw me away like trash? You're not trash, I said. You're a stranger. I stepped back, closed the inner door, and let the latch meet the frame. Through the glass, she stared at me like I'd set a new physics law. Then she walked to her car and drove off. That was the last time I saw her up close. A week later, Lena texted. Checking on you. How are things? Better than good, I wrote back. Same, she replied. It's strange how quiet a house gets when the double life ends. Quiet is a feature, I texted. She laughed in a string of little dots. We started talking more after that. Not heavy, just two people who had walked through a burn and wanted to say out loud that the air feels clean on the other side. She has a dry way of making jokes about chaos that made sense to me. We met for coffee once more, then twice. It never turned into anything else. I wasn't shopping. In the meantime, my ex kept pinging my phone. The messages softened further. Old photos, happy moments, apologies that read like scripts. I didn't block her. I wasn't hiding. I was choosing. When she ambushed me outside the plant one afternoon, waiting by the gate, hands clenched around a folder of who knows what, I stopped a reasonable distance away. Give me 5 minutes, she said. You have one, I answered. I've been staying with a friend. I don't want this. I want you. You want what you had? I corrected her. Free house, unpaid overtime, no questions. I can change, she said. I'm not taking applications. I hate you, she whispered. That's allowed, I said. It changes nothing. She cried. I listened. I didn't fix. When she ran out of sentences, I walked past her and into work. She called after me, words I didn't need to store. I didn't look back. That was the first day I fully felt the balance of power shift from trying to be good to insisting on being respected. Over the next month, my life got simple. I moved into a place closer to the river, a small house with a yard I could mow in 40 minutes flat. I sold the old bedroom set, bought a truck tool chest I'd been talking about for years, and set up a workbench in the garage. On Sundays, I rode out with Jay and Mark, or I went alone just to see if my phone would stay in my pocket for 2 hours. It did. I took a few days off, flew to see my brother, came home sunburned and happy. I stopped working doubles unless I wanted them. At night, sometimes Lena called from her porch. We'd trade the day's small wins. You'll laugh, she said once. I fixed the garbage disposal myself. I'm impressed, I told her. You should be, she answered. I didn't even flood the kitchen. We never crossed a line. We didn't need to. We were proof for each other that sanity exists. As for my ex, the energy faded. Her messages turned practical. Mail, a box of books, a sweater she realized was still in my dryer. I bagged her things, set them by the door, and texted her times to pick them up while I was at work. She complied. It was almost respectful, the way people are respectful when they no longer have access. The only time the old sting hit was when I ran into Mike as he was dragging his trash can curbside. You all right? He asked. He'd seen enough coming and going to know something had shifted. I'm better than all right, I said. He nodded. Heard about the cameras. Good call. Yeah, I said. Turns out security works both ways. He laughed once. I'll keep an eye out as usual. I know, I answered, and I meant it. That Friday, I drove past the restaurant on River Road. Not on purpose. Habit from the plant route. I saw Dylan step out of his car and cut across the lot on his phone. He looked like every man who thinks the world will always tilt his way. I didn't feel rage or even bitterness. I felt nothing. He wasn't mine to handle. I had done my part where it mattered and walked away. Later that night, as I locked my back door, there was a knock at the front. Not frantic, not soft. I opened it. My ex stood there with a small box. Last of it, she said. I looked at the box, then at her. Leave it, Nate, she tried, using the nickname she used when she wanted something. Can I come in for a minute? No, I said. Her eyes went glassy. I miss you. I miss the man I was in that house, I replied. The one who trusted what he came home to. That man's not coming back. She stared at my face like she was looking for a switch. You were always stubborn. I was always steady, I said. Now I'm selective. She put the box down, backed away, and then did something I wouldn't have predicted 2 months ago. She nodded. Good night, she said, and left. No slam. No insult. Just the acknowledgement that the door had finally closed. I picked up the box, put it in the garage, and went back inside to my new quiet. I made coffee, even though it was late. I walked through my house, the small one that fits me like a pair of broken-in work boots, and I felt the click of a lock inside my chest. Not protecting anything from someone else, but securing what belonged to me. People ask what the point of drawing lines is when lines get crossed anyway. Here's the answer from a man who worked until he couldn't see straight and then watched his life tilt in a camera feed. You draw the line because it tells you where to stand when someone else jumps the fence. You don't yell. You don't chase. You stand. You set the terms and you enforce them. A month after the last box left my porch, Lena and I sat on a bench by the river. We watched a couple teach their kid how to throw a ball. She handed me a paper cup. To quiet, she said. To clarity, I replied. She smiled, and we let the water do the talking. My phone stayed in my pocket. Not because I'm suddenly noble, because I had nothing to hide and nothing to monitor. That's a luxury overtime can't buy. These days, my life is straightforward. I work a clean schedule. I added a second shift to a hobby. Rebuilding old lawn mowers I pick up cheap and tune in the garage. I take the truck out to the lake. Lunch in a cooler, music low. I say yes to people who earn yes. I flirt at the hardware store, at the coffee shop, sometimes at Parker's. I don't promise anything. I'm not punishing the world for what one person did. I'm just not giving anyone my house keys on the first handshake. If there's a punchline, it's this. Respect isn't a negotiation. You either have it in your house or you don't. When it's gone, you can hang curtains and set tables and smile in doorways, but you're just staging a room that's been emptied of value. The fix isn't a grand gesture. The fix is a decision. When she tried to make her choice mine, I made a different one. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't break anything. I put the money away. I opened the door. I sent the facts where they belonged. And when she came back to say it could be undone, I told her the same sentence she used on me without knowing it would be the last one I'd ever say to her.